Regarding Xbox Activision deal, UK CMA says to Microsoft and Activision, either split the company into smaller parts or we will block the deal. But hey, don't panic, not yet. Not all hope is lost. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about Xbox Activision deal because we've got a big update from UK. So CMA has been investigating this deal for a while now. There was the preliminary phase 1. Now they are in the middle of phase 2 and they published their findings, and in these findings they say that they are not really happy about this deal in a current form, I guess. So they don't want allow Microsoft just to buy Activision without any remedies or that kind of stuff, right? And in this document that they published, they say that at the end that they will either have to split the company, so ABK, into smaller parts, so like Activision, Blizzard, King as a separate companies, or they will block the deal. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that this deal is blocked, that it's done, like Microsoft will not do anything about it. On contrary, actually. So obviously, I've seen some meltdowns on Twitter on both sides. Like some people are celebrating, yes, CMA has blocked the deal already, while others are crying that they won't be able to play Call of Duty in Game Pass. So, you know, I would not celebrate, nor I would cry, not yet at least, because there's this document is actually quite long, and that document got published literally a couple of hours ago, and people are still going through it. It's a public document. You will find the link in the description below, so you can check it yourself. And there's actually kind of an interesting point there. It's actually point 57 to be exact. And in this point, they say, this is CMA in this document. During our investigation, Microsoft told us that it has offered to enter into new long-term agreements with Sony, Nintendo, and Steam to supply them with Call of Duty post-merger. Whether some form of supply or licensing agreement might satisfy us or our concerns in gaming consoles is something that we will consider as part of our remedies process, rather than in our competitive assessments. So that means that basically the deal that has been discussed really 2 months ago, I'm sure you remember the whole, not even a deal, but there was a lot of talk, especially from Microsoft, about the fact that they reached out to Sony, they reached out to Steam, Nintendo, and they offered them I think initially it was like 5 years, and later they offered them like 10 years long-term agreement, which would allow Sony or Nintendo or Steam to be certain about the fact that Call of Duty would be always on these platforms. And on top of the fact that they would promise them availability, they would also offer them kind of parity, so no extra content on Xbox. So content-wise, gaming-wise, gameplay-wise, everything would be the same on all platforms, right? So that was discussed in detail a couple of months ago, and it looks like these agreements were not even considered during that phase 2 of investigation for some reason. Now, I don't know, that may be a standard thing, right? It might be the case that basically before CMA will speak with Microsoft, or will I guess go into more detailed conversations with Microsoft about remedies. They really needed to focus on investigating the market and whether or not this deal would be harmful for competition, that kind of stuff. I mean, in their eyes, of course, I would agree that I would argue with them already that there's no Xbox is not even second in UK, to be honest with you. They are third. But that aside, it means that they were just focusing on their own findings first, and now that they've got this document published, they can actually talk with Microsoft and Activision on potential remedies. And looks like one of the remedies may be that long-term Call of Duty agreement for Sony, Nintendo, and Steam, right? So now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean that particular long-term agreement will solve all the problems. I'm not saying that, but that may be a good step in right direction, I guess. And also, Microsoft and I think even Bobby Kotick did say that now they've got up until like middle of April to iron out any concerns and offer some remedies to CMA. So yeah, this is going to be a long process. On top of that, both Microsoft and Bobby Kotick and Activision actually seems to be pretty confident that this deal will close before June of this year. So yeah, who knows? I don't know. Like, listen, I'm not really a lawyer. I don't really know much about these acquisitions and that kind of stuff. This whole process seems to be more complicated than I ever imagined, because like I was going off of only what we've heard, when Microsoft was purchasing ZeniMax and Bethesda. So there were no issues there at all, really, right? There was like, yes, these FTC and EU did investigate that deal, but they found no issues there. So I was of an opinion that it's probably going to be pretty smooth process as well. But hey, looks like that's not really the case, and obviously Sony is kind of messing with that deal a little bit as well. So, guys, like I said at the very beginning of this video, not all hope is lost. They are still working on that deal. That report doesn't really change much, because it looks like they haven't even started properly talking about any potential remedies. Looks like Microsoft did make CMA aware of some potential remedies, but looks like they were not even considered for this particular stage of the process, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, listen, that's my take on it, and I'm just reading off of the document, so who knows, maybe there's some other stuff that people will find. I will not go through the whole process, the whole document. I don't really have time for it. I just wanted to report on that, really, because I find this particular point 57 very interesting and kind of changing our narrative a little bit, because like I said, I've seen some people really losing their minds over this deal already. Like, some people were crying in the corner, that deal will not go through, while others were celebrating, opening champagnes, and yes, hell yeah. So Twitter world, I guess, it's our gaming bubble. Love it. So guys, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.